Bruce Rivers, he's the criminal lawyer.
But who is he?
Bruce Rivers, he's the criminal lawyer.
And who is he?
Bruce Rivers, he's the criminal lawyer.
And what he do?
And it's gonna react to all the self-snitching.
Hi, this is Bruce Rivers. Welcome to another fun-filled episode of Criminal Lawyer Reacts. I'm Bruce Rivers, board-certified criminal lawyer. And what does that mean that I'm board-certified? That means I've got a shit ton of trial experience and that I know what I'm talking about. And when I talk about these cases, I'm talking about it from knowing and being in the courtroom and seeing winning cases and losing cases. I've tried to win more than I lose, but I have won a lot of cases, and I've tried a lot of cases over the 25 years of experience. So that's what it means to be board certified, tried, true, and tested. But before we get into Mr. Tate, because Mr. Tate was in court yesterday, we are sponsored by eForms.com. That's eForms.com. Let's say Andrew Tate, he's got some women in your basement, and he's down there and doing all kinds of stuff that's illegal, and you need to get him the fuck out of there. What do? You go to eForms.com. You get an eviction notice. You get the cops and the sheriff to get him the hell out of there. Because you don't want Andrew Tate in your basement, do you? Because guess what? Your grandma's down there, and you don't want her having an OnlyFans page with Andrew Tate. So you get him out of there so your grandma's not subject to such treatment by Andrew Tate. You go to eForms.com. They've got the forms right there. Doesn't matter what state you're in. Go to eForms.com, and they will take care of you. Okay, so this is an update on Mr. Andrew Tate. Mr. Tate was in court yesterday. He is being detained for at least another 30 days. His lawyer, Mr. Vladniak, really solid lawyer, by the way, he has said they're going to appeal. This is also the same guy that said he wasn't arrested. When you're like this and you're at the back of a fucking squad car, that means you're arrested. And he was arrested. And he's in custody. And now here's the thing. The laws in Romania are not like they are here. They're getting better. And in fact, there's a whole international coalition about sex trafficking and trying to get everybody on the same page. The guidelines here, the federal guidelines here on sex trafficking in the United States is absolutely through the roof. I think they start out at a 27 and they have all these enhancements, but they're just through the roof. You could be looking at 30 years so easily. He is not looking at that much time in Romania. He is looking at 3 to 10 years in Romania. That's just on the sex trafficking charges, okay? There's two other charges. There's a rape charge, and there's also a criminal organization charge. So they've arrested 4 people. Andrew Tate's going to be there for the next 30 days. I don't think there's any reason for an appeals court to overturn that. But he's got Vladniak, and that's the lawyer that, remember we did that little video about who he wants for a fucking lawyer?
I walked in there and said, listen, I've committed multiple felonies.
I would never want this guy for a client. Get the fuck out of my office. You know, you want to know what the reality is, and you tell them the truth. You don't tell them what they want to hear. And he just wants to hear what he wants to hear.
Am I gonna go to jail? Well, probably. Well, then see ya! Bye!
You want me to lie to you? Oh, no, I can win that case hands down. I committed multiple felonies. Did ya? Are you gonna be sitting in jail? Yes. Bye! That's what he said. That's what he fucking said. But what does that mean? He is in jail. I mean, is he looking for a new lawyer? Because his lawyer didn't win the bail argument, did he? And let me tell you something about that aspect of things. When you got a guy like Andrew Tate, he's probably like a caged animal right now, just going absolutely batshit crazy. And he's probably he's blowing up his lawyer's phone like nobody's business. I wouldn't be surprised if we see another lawyer on this case in short order, because he's not going to stand for sitting in jail. He's thinking there's something, I'm bigger than anything that ever has been, so that nobody can. No, you're just like the rest of us. You put your pants on one leg at a time. So let's first take a look from his own words, what he says as he started this business to create all this wealth for himself. He appeared on Fresh and Fit. Actually, the guy Myron, we bantered back and forth, and he's a former Homeland Security agent. These are his own words. Remember what I said before about your own words? Your own words, whether it's a song or whether it's this, an interview can bite you in the ass, and it can be used against you in a court of law. So let's see what he says.
Yeah. It wasn't nearly as big, and I found this little webcam thing, and I was like, this might be some money. So I text all my girlfriends, I think it was 5 of them, text all 5, said, you're all coming here to live with me and work with me.
Listen to the tone, first of all. You're all coming here to live and work with me. But he didn't text, he didn't say you're all. He texted each one of them individually.
Bro, Tristan will tell you the story. He'll tell you. All 5 flew in, picked them all up. They're all sitting there. I sat them around the same table. Listen, I need to get paid, right? I'm broke now.
You're broke now? This is just at the beginning stages of what he was doing.
I have no money. I'm running out of money. So I put them all around the same table, and I was like, look, we're going to start a webcam business. You're going to stay. You're going to live in London. I'm going to look after you, and we're going to get rich. We're going to be a team. And they're all like, well, who's this bitch?
Now remember, he started out in London. And why did he go to Romania? Why did he go to Romania?
This bitch. I'm like, she's my girlfriend. She's my girlfriend. She's my girl. You're all my chicks. And you're going to stay here and we're going to make some money. Big fight kicks off, blah, 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 blah. 3 left, 2 stayed. Those are my first 2 girls. And we started this little webcam business from my apartment. And it just grew and grew and grew. And it got to the point where at one point I had 75 women working for me in 4 locations.
75 women in 4 locations.
And I was doing $600,000 a month. This is in the UK. But this leads into the story of why I moved to Romania. So at the height of my webcam pimping, I think I'm the king of the world, right? I have all these women, da-da-da. But the problem is, my first 2 girls who worked for me because they loved me. I love this man.
Ladies, any of you ladies that love this man? No.
Me from the ghetto streets to the hotel suites. So we're working together. But then once you get bigger, you start hiring girls who don't love you. They're in it for the money. And then I had one girl, and she got too drunk one day, and she threw up in my apartment. I told her to clean up. She refused to clean up, start being an idiot. So I took her stuff, threw out the window. You never hit a girl, right? Can't do that. But if all the other girls see me be disrespected, they're going to lose respect for me.
Facts.
Right?
Yep.
So when she's like, I ain't cleaning that up, you get that. So I was like, look, I don't care. And she was my biggest earning girl. She made me on her own maybe $25,000 a month.
Oh, shit.
So I didn't want to fire her. And she knew I didn't want to fire her, which is more reason why I had to fire her ass. So I was like, all right, cool. You want to be a gangster? Right, you're a gangster. Got her shit. We're like high up. We're like high up, like here. It was just out the window. So I throw it out the window. Got her by her 2 arms and marched her out the door, locked the door. End of it. She starts texting me, you owe me my last month's wages, you owe me my money, give me my money. Did I text her back? I ain't paying you nothing. You threw up my da-da-da-da-da. She went to the police.
Oh, shit.
And told the police I hit her.
This is how it starts. This is how law enforcement involvement with him starts.
4 months later, 5 in the morning, 4 months later, I'm laying in bed. And I heard the door, boom, 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 boom. And I don't know how I knew. I just knew it was police. As soon as I heard that noise, I just paused for a second. I heard police, but I didn't know what it was for, right? But there's a few things I can't say in the podcast. I've lived a varied life.
Now, that is a form of self-snitching. That indicates that there's things out there that are illegal that he's done.
Right? I've done some things when I had to pay the bills.
Right.
So I was a bit like, what's this going to be? So I flush my phone down the toilet quickly. Boom.
So I destroy evidence. I flush my phone down the toilet.
I'm coming. So I'm trying to hide shit. I'm looking around. What do I have to hide?
I'm hiding shit. I'm destroying evidence. One of the problems that you have with a guy like this is there's a treasure trove of statements that he makes that a prosecutor can use to impeach him with if he ever decides to testify. So that gives you a little bit of read on how he started his empire, for lack of a better word. He made his money on the backs of young women. He said 75 women in 4 locations. The other thing he told you is that he destroyed evidence. Not only that, he was concerned with how he would look in front of the other women in terms of control. Because I can't let her get over on me because then I won't have control over these other women. That's the theme you get from that interview. Okay, so we have basically the origin, the beginnings of his business dealings in this area. Now, let's see how he operates. By his own words. These are his own words.
Also, when you're a real G, is that you're here, you're there, you're everywhere. You gotta go to Poland, you gotta go to Warsaw, fucking Dubai, Miami. Anyone who watches Tate Confidential knows I'm all over the place. So I end up with all these chicks just stuck in their house, sitting there, bored, completely in love with me. And of course, they don't go out. They're not allowed out.
So I got all these chicks. They're in love with me. They don't go out. They're not allowed out. So restricting somebody of their movement is part of force, fraud, or coercion. Because what happens if they go out?
Tate's away, so they go out with their friends. No. You don't go to the club with your friends. I don't know what kind of bitch-ass dude is letting his chicks go to the club with her friends without him. No. You stay in the house. You don't go nowhere. You're not, no restaurants, no clubs, nothing.
Do you get to eat? Do you get to take a shit? I mean, when you start controlling somebody like that, that is the crux of you come here on a promise of whatever, but when you get here, I control your every movement. That's coercion. That's absolute coercion.
I don't even have to fuck you. Forget the sex part. That's a distraction. My dick can stay in my pants. I'll just start beating the shit out of you. How about that? We walk in the bedroom. I start kicking your ass. No sex. No sex involved. But you cry then.
Here's a little move.
when I grab you by your neck and you start annoying me trying to resist, and I just
Juxtaposed to that, what he said on Fresh and Fit, it just doesn't jive. That is who he's got to be in order to control these women, in order to keep the money coming in. Because he was broke before, right? Now he's making money off the backs of all these ladies, and they're brought to him because they're in love with him, and their movement is restricted, and according to him, they're beaten. That is slavery. That is sex slavery. That is exactly what sex trafficking statutes are designed to prevent. So that video and a couple articles have been posted by Tori Nix 2.0. We got to give her a shout out to her because it's a good synopsis of where we're at with Mr. Tate. There's an American woman who was lured to Romania because promising a love interest with Andrew Tate. And he lures her there through Facebook. And when she gets there, she realizes it's a total scam. Some of these women actually had tattoos on them saying, "Owned by Tate. I belong to Tate," tattooed on their arms. Now, Mr. Tate is just at the very infant stages of this whole case, because Romania is one of the countries that is part of this international compact on sex trafficking, and they're trying to increase their enforcement and get more in line with neighboring nations, the U.S. being one of them. Not a neighboring nation, but in this coalition. Mr. Tate is going to see that the Romanian authorities are going to cooperate with the U.S. Trafficking this young girl to Romania under false pretenses, and then not allowing her to leave, and then using her for sex acts online is sex trafficking, and it violates U.S. law. Violating U.S. law makes him subject to prosecution in the United States. I don't have any information to suggest that he has been charged or that he's even under investigation with the United States, but I wouldn't be surprised if the U.S. decides to prosecute Andrew Tate for sex trafficking as well. Now, Mr. Tate was born in Chicago. He is a U.S. citizen. He holds dual citizen in Great Britain and in the United States. Both he and his brother are. One of the issues that you're going to have in terms of detention for somebody that has multiple citizenship is whether they're a risk of flight or not. And now he's got means because he's got money. He's told you all about his Bugattis, his 33 vehicles and everything. Let's see what else he has to say about passports.
Same thing with passports, man. If I fuck up and England wants me in jail, I can fly on a Nigerian passport, or an American, or an English, or a Polish, or an Estonian. I have so many passports. What, are you going to block them all? They can't stop me traveling. There's always a passport I can pull out. There's always a driver's license I can pull out. If you ban one, I've got another one. I've got bank account.
He's got so much content that's out there that it just flouts any kind of respect for law enforcement or respect for any notion that he's not a flight risk. All I got to do is play that in front of a judge if I'm a prosecutor, which I'm not. It just if I'm the defense lawyer, how do you combat that? See, the thing is, if the girls get there and they realize it's not Shangri-La and that they're being mistreated, they're going to want to leave. But guess what? If you take their passports, they can't leave the country. And you now control them. So you're controlling them with physical violence. You're controlling them, their physical location, where they can go and what they can do. And you're controlling them by taking their passports. There's so much evidence that Mr. Tate is engaged in sex trafficking, or at least it seems to me. And it's really by his own admission. I mean, because one of his monikers, or one of his hallmarks of his personality, is the disrespect and the controlling of women. So for some reason, he thinks that's cool. And he thinks it's really cool to brag about how he can either beat the shit out of a woman or control their every movement, because they just love him or whatever. But all those statements that he's made on his own, there's just a treasure trove of information that he has put out there himself. Nobody else, these are his words. Trapping a girl in Romania by stealing their passports and forcing them to work for a webcam. That is sex trafficking 101. And with bringing a young girl from the United States to Romania, he's subjected himself to prosecution in Romania, in the United States. I don't know about Great Britain, but I'm sure that's something that's probably on the table as well. I represented a female that was charged with sex trafficking, along with 38 other. There was 38 women and one or maybe two guys that were charged in the case. That it was like a 7-week trial, and we tried to claim agency. You know, a woman has her agency; she can do whatever she wants. And I've heard some comments in our last video about that oh, these women, you know, blah blah blah, blaming the women. A lot of these women, in fact, most of them, did not work in the sex industry before. They were lured there with visions of romance with Mr. Tate. And in fact, Mr. Tate was actually responsible for a lot of the content, the typing. So when you're thinking you're talking to those hot chicks, it was actually him. But they didn't have experience in this business. They're extremely vulnerable. They're in a country that they don't know anything about, don't have any resources. And here they are with no passport, no money, no way. And you heard him on Fresh and Fit was saying, I'm not going to fucking pay you. I mean, and guess what? Pissing her off cost him more money and trouble than it did to pay her. This has just been our reaction to the latest and the greatest on Andrew Tate. He is now detained. He ain't getting out for at least 30 days. And then he has been formally charged. We'll see what happens. And I don't really know the Romanian system. I know that he's looking between 3 to 10 years. In the United States, he'd be looking at, 10 to 30 years plus, depending upon the different enhancements. It's 18 USC 1591, and you can look it up yourself. It's 18 USC 1591, and limiting their movement. In that case that I tried, the prosecutor had probably the best line in the whole trial. She says, "You walk away from a job, you run away from slavery," and these girls couldn't even run away, and that's what he's looking at. So we'll continue to follow this and treat women with respect. I don't know how else to put it. Women deserve respect. Everybody deserves respect, but if you're a guy, don't idolize somebody like this who has nothing but contempt and just uses women for his own benefit. He didn't give any of those Bugattis to any of these women. So we'll see you next time here on Criminal Lawyer Reacts. I'm Bruce Rivers, board certified criminal defense lawyer. Make sure you subscribe, follow us on Instagram, follow us on Twitter, sign up for Patreon, and we'll see you next time here on Criminal Lawyer Reacts.
Bruce Rivers just broke down your case. He know all the charges that you about to face. You ain't coming home till 2058. That self-snitching gon' get you put away. Bruce Rivers just broke down your case. He know all the charges that you about to face. You ain't coming home till 2058. That self-snitching gon' get you put away. 23-hour lockdown, please is at my God.
Bruce Rivers, he's the criminal lawyer. Bruce Rivers, he's the criminal lawyer. Bruce Rivers, he's the criminal lawyer. And what he do? And he's gonna react to all the self-snitching.
Hi, this is Bruce Rivers. Welcome to another episode of Criminal Lawyer Reacts. I'm board certified criminal defense lawyer Bruce Rivers, which means I actually go to the courthouse. I actually try cases. I don't act as a personal passport purveyor to prisons. I actually try to save people's lives, and on occasion I do. And this episode is brought to you once again by eforms.com. That's eforms.com. If you are doing some legal work, let's say you're suing your brother-in-law, or let's say your brother-in-law owes you money and you want to make sure that he pays, have him sign an agreement, and you can get it right from eforms.com. Or if you have a power of attorney, let's say your folks are getting a little aged and they want to have you do some work for them, like banking or whatever, go to eforms.com. You get a power of attorney, you can get a loan agreement, eviction. They have all kinds of forms for legal stuff, so you don't have to hire a guy like me to draft something you can do on your own. Why reinvent the wheel? eforms.com. So today we're reacting to Young Thug, and I want to talk to you a little bit about some of the evidence that they have in this case. Now, Young Thug is charged in that RICO indictment in the Fulton County District of Georgia. And, there have been some rumors about Gunna snitching or not snitching. Somebody who's on Twitter saying he's snitching. You really got to be careful when you do that stuff, because if somebody's wrongfully accused of being a snitch, they could wind up getting hurt or killed. And so if you're doing that, you don't fucking know. I guarantee you don't know. You don't know jack. Gunna made some statements, I think, online about him coming home soon. Just about every guy does that. And they do that to keep a positive attitude. It's hard to be in the county jail. But we were able to kind of find some of the documents that establish some of the things that we're talking about. Now, there's a DDA, that's Deputy District Attorney Sprinkle. And what they've done is they've gotten all kinds of records. See, whenever you go anywhere or do anything, you create a record, whether it's a cell phone record, whether it's a rental agreement or whatever. So in 2015, Young Thug rented a car. He rented a 2014 Infiniti Q50. And when he rented that car, guess what he did? He signed an agreement. And he had other people that were involved in the shooting of Thomas, a rival gang member of the Inglewood family, the IF. First of all, in this RICO, before they even got picked up, they had snitches involved. Okay, Kenneth Copeland is a guy who is basically said Young Thug rented the silver Infiniti. They have a bunch of other witnesses that saw the Infiniti. They have cell phone data, and here's the other thing: your cell phone is like a digital footprint of wherever you go. And you can even turn off your location on your phone, and if you make a call, it hits a tower. When it hits a tower, those towers are three-sided, and they can pinpoint your GPS location from where you hit the tower. So they can pinpoint where you are, not exactly where you are down to the foot, but pretty darn close. And so Kenneth Copeland has given a statement, and one of the things he said was that, and they have the rental agreement that Mr. Williams, a.k.a. Young Thug, signed. And he indicated that it was all planned, that Mr. Williams was the orchestrator of it all, and that when they got back to Copeland's vehicle, and they told him they had just killed him. So they admitted it. But here's the thing: you can't just and he would ostensibly be a co-conspirator in the or an accomplice in the homicide because he was involved. But you can't rely only on that. Accomplice testimony alone is never enough. You have to have things corroborating. That's why they have DNA sometimes. They don't have DNA in this case, I don't think. But they do have cell phone tower records. They have cell phone records of calls before and after. They have a lot of communication between these guys. It is... You are going to see some major stuff coming out of this. The identity of a cooperating witness in the Young Thug RICO case has leaked online because the individual and their family were receiving threats. That's the other danger of here's the thing. There's a fine line between protecting an investigation and giving the defense their disclosures. Okay? And what they're talking about here is disclosure by the government to the defense in this case has somehow leaked out into the public. And because it's leaked out into the public, whoever was the snitch, i.e. probably Kenneth Copeland, now is getting death threats and that kind of thing with his family. And when you're dealing with these things, this is real. This is absolutely real. But the problem that they're going to have is when they get these threats, that leads to more arrests. And more arrests leads to more jail time or more snitches. There are a ton of witnesses in this case, a ton of documents. And here's the thing, you might think, well, it's a 2015 case. What's the statute of limitations on murder? There isn't any in any jurisdiction. So there's no limitation on when they can prosecute a homicide. They prosecute it when they have the evidence. So apparently there was a leak. And both Steele, that is Young Thug's attorney and the DA have expressed concern about it. This happens a lot in federal cases where we get an order, a protective order, saying that we can't share the documents with our clients. And the reason being, especially if it's a multi-defendant case where there's the fear of retaliation against a potential cooperating witness, which is exactly what we have here. And there's only one way, and the cooperating witness here is I think it's Copeland, and Copeland is a YSL member. But the only way it gets out is if Young Thug does that, in my opinion. That's the only way that comes out. I can't imagine his lawyers would do it. That would just be career-ending, honestly. This is putting people at risk, and it's poisoning the jury pool, is what his lawyer said, Steele. Please stop immediately. Whomever is placing items of discovery online is not doing anybody any favors. It is totally inappropriate to try this case in social media. This will be tried fairly and justly in Fulton County Superior Court. That's what he said. But the only way that gets out is if somebody gives it to his client and then the client releases it. I mean, otherwise, if it's just in the lawyer's hands, how does it get out? Because I can't imagine that the DA wants this to happen. And I find it hard to believe that the DA itself would do that. So what we try to do on this channel is we try to present just the facts and apply whatever knowledge I have about the law to the facts in the case as we see it. I don't try to speculate too much. I certainly don't want to prejudge Young Thug's what's going to happen with him. What I read from you was from an actual document, an investigative document that I know is part of the case file in this case. What I don't want to do is speculate. A lot of people get out there and, they run with it. They run with a little bit of information. And when they do that, they can create a climate of disinformation and ultimately be unfair to the people who we're talking about here. And, we report on this stuff because we find it interesting, and I know you guys do too. But what I don't want to do is spread falsehoods or half-truths or talk about shit out of my ass like I don't know what I'm talking about, because I don't do that. Or at least I try not to. And if I get something wrong, I'll tell you that I got it wrong. But so be careful on somebody taking you down a path. That's really more a path of sensationalism than it is the truth or, part of a thorough analysis from somebody who's qualified, like a board-certified criminal defense lawyer. And that doesn't mean to say that you got to be a board-certified criminal defense lawyer to comment on this stuff. It's absolutely interesting. The hip-hop community is absolutely a buzz with YSL, and that's totally cool. I get it. But let's take a step back. Let's give him a fair trial. What if half the shit in this document that I just read to you isn't true? This certainly is a hearsay document. It's a one-sided document. It hasn't been cross-examined. So we don't know what Mr. Steele has in store. And hopefully he's keeping his powder dry, and he's going to have an excellent defense and maybe even an alibi to say that, that may look like it, but somebody else had his phone, and he was in a different part of the city at that time. Could be totally innocuous. Might not be, but it's not for us to judge. But it is for us to just kind of give you an update as to where we think this case is headed. And it's definitely headed for trial. They're not going to, I guarantee you they're not going to negotiate on this because it's a murder one, it's life without. And, so those are the kinds of cases that wind up in trial. Okay, this is just another thing we wanted to add to this video because it's sort of breaking news. Young Thug has been sued by a concert promoter for $150,000 while he's still in jail. Imagine that. He's been sued for $150,000 over a canceled concert that was supposed to take place in Atlanta this summer, according to the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. Here's the thing. When you sign a contract, let's talk a little bit about contract law. There's offer, right? And acceptance. So I offer you $150,000 actually, in this case, they offered him $300,000 for a 45-minute set. They probably gave him half up front and the other half when he gets done playing. So I give you $150,000. You say, okay, that's a good deal. I give you the $150,000. Now, in order for you to get the other $150,000, in order for you to keep the $150,000 that I just gave you, you have to do what's called performance. So you have offer, acceptance, performance. And if you can't perform for some reason, you don't get the benefit of the bargain, because what is that called? Unjust enrichment. So Thug was supposed to make $300,000 for a 45-minute set. Not bad money for if you can get it. Like I said, half this amount was paid up front, and the other half was to be paid after the event. He's been sued while he's in jail, and sued for the $150,000. Now his representatives have said that they will give the money back, but they're not in any rush. Because here's the thing. You think any judge is going to make him go forward with a civil trial before the criminal trial is done? No. That just isn't going to happen. But they've got to get their money from somewhere and keep their claim alive, so they have to sue him. There's no way they're going to ever take a deposition or do anything. This will get settled out of court. So this has just been our quick update on Young Thug and, Gunna. And Gunna ain't going to come home anytime soon. Even if somebody is cooperating, they don't let him out to cooperate. That just doesn't happen. I think because the risk is too great. What they do is they separate him. And I'm sure Young Thug and Gunna are not together in jail. So we'll see you next time here on Criminal Lawyer Reacts. I'm Bruce Rivers, board-certified criminal defense lawyer. We make sure you subscribe, follow us on Instagram, follow us on Twitter, sign up for Patreon, and we'll see you next time here on Criminal Lawyer Reacts.
Bruce Rivers just broke down your case. He know all the charges that you about to face. You ain't coming home till 2058. That self-snitching gon' get you put away. Bruce Rivers just broke down your case. He know all the charges that you about to face. You ain't coming home till 2058. That self-snitching gon' get you put away. 23-hour lockdown, please is at my God.
So the things that are going to come out, as I think the biggest name so far to come out is Jennifer Lopez. What did she know? When did she know it? Unless there's a change in circumstances. Oh, that's right. You don't like jail, and you're making friends with cockroaches. So is that your change in circumstances? The fact that you're living in a hellhole called jail and you're secluded and it sucks? Welcome to jail. That's what jail is all about. Jail is about making it it's punishment. I mean, it's not meant to be pleasant.
Bruce Rivers, he's the criminal lawyer. Bruce Rivers, he's the criminal lawyer. Bruce Rivers, he's the criminal lawyer. And what he do? And it's gonna react to all the self-snitching.
Hi, this is Bruce Rivers. Welcome to another fun-filled episode of Criminal Lawyer Reacts. I'm Bruce Rivers, your very own personal board-certified criminal defense lawyer with our content genius, as Michael Rivers. Today we're reacting to just kind of the updated developments on P. Diddy and P. Diddy Diddler, the Diddler, P. Diddler, the Diddler monster.
So y'all need to hide your kids, hide your wife, and hide your husband because they raping everybody out here.
But before we get to that, let's just give a shout out to our sponsor, eForms.com. eForms.com is a very effective way to use a legal document to protect your interests, whatever it may be, whether it's power of attorney, whether it's medical power of attorney, or if you got a grandma in your basement doing all kinds of crazy stuff, you need a bill of sale because you want to sell her apparatus that she uses for her OnlyFans feed page, well, you can do that. eForms.com, very effective way to protect yourself in and out of court and to avoid the high cost of a lawyer. eForms.com. Okay. So what is going on with the Diddler? The Diddler. Well, as you know, P. Diddy had these freak-offs.
Hey, everybody know ain't no party like a Diddy party, so.
I think the freak-offs are only a portion of what he's really being charged with. But there's all kinds of, rumors and innuendos and things that are going on with his case that people don't know, so I'm here to give you the straight scoop. So let's start with the most recent developments. A new judge has been assigned to his case. If you remember when he made his last appearance, the judge said it's going to be reallocated to another judge. Arun Subramanian. This judge is now, they're going to make a third attempt at a bail argument. And they have some good arguments for bail. Number one, he's putting up $50 million. So that's huge collateral incentive to stick around. Number two, he's had 6 months to flee and he didn't flee. And number three, he was available to turn himself in, and they were constantly talking to the government to try to make arrangements for them to turn himself in, which they don't generally do. I've got a case right now. My client's got a federal indictment hanging out there, or I think she does, and it's pending indictment, and it's always secret. But the U.S. attorney's now gone ghost on me because they want her to get picked up instead of, and I'm saying, well, she'll turn herself in. Where should she do that? What's the safest thing? Because they don't want that argument. They don't want the argument that somebody's not a risk of flight. That they take that away. Well, we had to arrest them, Judge. So, but here's the thing. You've already had 2 bites at the apple, right? So you made your pitch to the magistrate. Magistrate turned you down. Then you appealed that to the district court judge. Now it's been reallocated. So why would it, unless there's a change in circumstances? Oh, that's right. You don't like jail, and you're making friends with cockroaches. So is that your change in circumstances? The fact that you're living in a hellhole called jail and you're secluded and it sucks? Welcome to jail. That's what jail is all about. Jail is about making it it's punishment. I mean, it's not meant to be pleasant. So what does he do? So he makes one more pitch to the judge. And here's the thing, unless there's a real change in circumstances, which it doesn't seem like there are, like he's sick or needs an operation or he, I don't know what the circumstances that could change that would change the judge's mind. Keep in mind, another judge has already ruled that he hasn't overborne the presumption. And it's such a case where there aren't a condition or set of conditions that can assure his reappearance and protect the public. A judge has already ruled on that. So absent a change in circumstances, the new judge isn't going to rule on it, despite the fact that there's a new lawyer on the case. They've got some death penalty lawyer. It's not a death penalty type case, but they've got a lawyer with death penalty experience just because, I don't know, they may need some more talent, because guess what happens when you're sitting in jail? You start to question things. Is my lawyer doing everything my lawyer can do? Just because the lawyer didn't get him out of jail doesn't mean that he's not doing everything he can do. The case is the type of case where you're going to sit and you're not treated differently because you're P. Diddler Combs. I mean, you're not. So we got a new judge, a new attempt at trying to get out, which is not going to work. A judge is not going to overrule his buddy judge. It's just not going to happen. We got a new lawyer on the case because he's not getting out. So let's try something different, is what his theory is. And the jail conditions, he's probably just sitting in his cell, 6x8 cell, and just riding around on the back of a cockroach, and it's boring. I mean, and the conditions aren't the greatest. So the things that are going to come out, as I think the biggest name so far to come out is Jennifer Lopez. What did she know? When did she know it? Now, I'm not going to be a rumor monger, and I don't know what Jennifer Lopez knew or didn't know, and whether or not their breakup, between her and Ben Affleck are the result of something she may or did not do back in the 90s. I do like Ben Affleck's comment, though.
Parents of divorced kids, is for the children to see that the parents respect one another and treat one another with respect. I think you can learn a lot about a man's character by how they treat the mother of their children. In the interview, sort of said, it was the pain of the divorce.
You can tell the character of a man by the way they treat the mother of his children. But according to News Nation, Ben Affleck was given tapes of Jennifer Lopez from Diddy raids by FBI.
But no, according to Suge Knight.
The tape showed J-Lo's involvement in 1999's shooting, Knight says. I mean, whether Suge Knight said that is immaterial. Really, but I do question, Jennifer Lopez, because she was with and engaged to the Diddler, wasn't she? I mean, back in the day. How are you that close to somebody where you're not aware of some of the shit's going on? I'd be shocked if she didn't know. So count on her to be a witness for the prosecution. She's trying to stay as far away from this as possible.
And
I don't know that I would, hold a candle up to what Suge Knight has to say.
And the big connection here is that the 99 significance is in relation to that 1999 club shooting that he was involved in, where a bunch of people died, and she was there. And so that's what they were talking about, is she was a witness. This was his statement. They go raid Puffy's house, and they get all these videos of J-Lo doing this and J-Lo doing that. He said, recalling her involvement in the 1999 nightclub shooting, where Moses Shine Barrow took the fall for the music mogul. And they know the fact that J-Lo lied and said the gun was Shine's or whatever, and sent that man to prison and destroyed his life. And they said they knew it was Puff's.
But the guy's already in prison for it, right?
I know, but aiding and abetting...
aiding and abetting after the fact. So, we did a video with the more victims and witnesses coming forward. That's going to happen in this case. And we're going to see, and this case is going to grow. It's not going to get smaller. A lot of times when you have a case like this, a criminal sexual conduct case, people tend to get cold feet sometimes. I don't think you're going to have that in this case. I think just the opposite. But you're going to have to question their motives, because there's a big pot of money somewhere, right? And who knows if they're motivated by that or if they're telling you a true story. So their story has to stand muster. Now, the other update is apparently Diddy's mother came out and made a statement. Let's see what she has to say. Mother says she's devastated and profoundly saddened by the allegations against him. I mean, it's a long statement. I can read it to you here. Janet Smith Combs, the mother of Sean Combs, through the undersigned counsel and on behalf of the Combs family, releases the following press release. I come to you today as a mother that is devastated and profoundly saddened by the allegations made against my son, Sean Combs. It is heartbreaking to see my son judged, not for the truth, but for a narrative created out of lies, to bear witness to what seems to be the public lynching of my son before he has the opportunity to prove his innocence is a pain too unbearable to put in words. That is one of the things about this high publicity. It makes it really difficult to get a fair trial. And it also puts you on the defensive straight away. Like every human being, my son deserves to have his day in court, to finally share his side and prove his innocence. He doesn't have to prove his innocence. It's up to the government. The burden's on the government. I'm not here to portray my son as perfect, because he is not. He has made mistakes in the past, as we all have. My son may not have been entirely truthful about certain things, such as denying that he's ever gotten violent with an ex-girlfriend when the hotel surveillance showed otherwise. Sometimes the truth and a lie become so closely intertwined that it becomes terrifying to admit one part of your story, which means you're not lying about another part, aren't you? Especially when that truth is outside the norm or is too complicated to be believed. This is not a complicated case. This is why I believe that my son's legal team opted to settle the ex-girlfriend's lawsuit instead of contesting it until the end, resulting in a ricochet effect as the federal government used this decision against my son by interpreting it as an admission of guilt. Him paying her off is not admissible in court. It's an offer of settlement. So they can't use that against him. But I do think it's fucking amazing that she files the complaint, it was settled that day or the next day, the very next day she put it in court. It is important to recognize that none of us, regardless of our status, are immune to fear or mistakes. Not being entirely straightforward about one issue does not mean that the son is guilty of the repulsive allegations and grave charges leveled against him. Many individuals who were wrongfully convicted, later exonerated, had their freedom taken from them not because they were guilty of the crimes they were accused of, but because they didn't fit the image of what the society considers to be a good person. History has shown us how individuals can be wrongfully convicted due to their past action. The problem with this is that it's all on fucking video. They got terabytes and terabytes and terabytes of video. Watching the world make jokes and laugh at him, laugh at my son's life crumbling before our eyes is something I can never forget. That is truly sad for a mother, honestly. It is truly agonizing to watch the world turn against your son so quickly and easily over lies and misconceptions without ever hearing his side or affording him the opportunity to present his side. These lies thrown at him are motivated by those seeking a financial gain and not justice. These individuals saw how quickly my son's civil legal team settled with his ex-girlfriend's lawsuit, so they believe they can receive a quick payday in falsely accusing my son. The federal government isn't seeking a payday. False allegations of sexual assault thwart true victims of sexual violence from getting the justice they deserve. To make matters worse, the federal government is now using these lies to prosecute my son. The injustice has been unbearable to our family. The worst part of the ordeal is watching my beloved son stripped of his dignity and his baby oil, not for what he did, but for what people choose to believe about him. I ask supporters, fans, colleagues, friends, and public not to judge him before you've had a chance to hear his side. I beg you to think about those who have been wrongfully prosecuted, to remember that not everyone who has made mistakes in their life deserves their entire existence to be judged by a single action or a few minutes. My son is not the monster they've painted him to be, and he deserves the chance to tell his side of the story. I can only pray that I am alive to see him speak his truth and be vindicated. Respectfully submitted, the law offices of Natalie Figures, Esquire. So this raises, an issue of family members of those who have been accused. Guess what happens? You find out who your friends are pretty darn quick when you're accused of a crime. My father, for example, back in the late 80s, was accused of Medicare and Medicaid fraud. He had owned an ambulance company. He also worked as a fireman, and his office partner, or his business partner, was in charge of all the billing. And they had a system set up, and they wound up getting convicted. And rightfully, and then we got a bunch of stuff reversed on appeal, but by then it was too late. Rightfully or wrongfully, whatever happens, whether you believe my father or you didn't believe in him, you learn who your true friends are. And when a mother sees a child, and you know what, and the Diller is still her child. Sean Combs is still her child, and I'm sure she still sees her child sitting in a jail, and that's who she sees, her child. She doesn't see the big media mogul. She sees her child. And it's tough. It's really, really tough when a family member sees another one hurting, regardless of the circumstances, whether it's physical, mental, or in this case, legal. And, give him his day in court. I do agree with that. He is innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. And that means the government has the burden to prove their case beyond a reasonable doubt. And I am not a fan of the slow drip, 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 drip leaking of certain facts. The indictment is public now, so that's going to be public. But the other details about the case that leak out, I don't think are appropriate, because you want him to get a fair trial. Otherwise, a guilty verdict is meaningless, right? But they did take 1,000 bottles of baby oil out of his house. That is a lot of baby oil. And that just, that makes you go down a slippery slope, if you know what I mean.
Literally.
So what I'm going to tell you is this. Let's just reserve judgment. Let's let the process play out. It'll be quicker in federal court than it would be in state court. That's for dang sure.
Let's see what I had pulled up on my phone. It's 1:20, so I know you're 1:30.
And let me tell you this about this Figure law firm, and I don't know anything about them, so I'm not going to try to impugn their character or anything. I'm not a fan of criticizing the government, as strongly as they are, because guess what's going to happen? the physical evidence, meaning the videos and the corroborating evidence of these victims, is going to come out, and you're going to look like you're going off half-cocked, and that's really for an audience of one. That is for the mother, and that is just for and understandable, but you lose credibility when you sit there and you go down the road of, wrongfully prosecuted and all these other things because you're just doing a public relations tour. You have the A-list celebrity parties, which I don't think he's had in years, to be quite frank with you. And then you have these freak-offs and his other depravity that he does in hotels, and to the detriment of his victims. I think there's a dichotomy there, right? You've got one guy acting high society, and you got one guy acting like Caligula, like I'm in charge, and you're gonna be here for my sick pleasure. And then he shoots somebody. There is a lot there to unpack. So we'll give him the benefit of the doubt because he's not been convicted yet. But the FBI doesn't raid your home and walk away with nothing, generally speaking. So we'll keep following this, and we'll keep you updated. We'll see you next time here on Criminal Lawyer Reacts. I am Bruce Rivers with our content genius, Michael Rivers. And, Michael, do we have any merch left?
Oh, we've got a ton of merch left.
Where do you get that merch?
You can go to clrbrucerivers.com.
And we'll see you next time here on Criminal Lawyer Reacts. I'm Bruce Rivers. Make sure you subscribe. Follow us on Instagram. Follow us on Twitter. Sign up for Patreon. And we'll see you next time on Criminal Lawyer Reacts.
Bruce Rivers just broke down your case. He know all the charges that you about to face. You ain't coming home till 2058. That self-snitching gon' get you put away. Bruce Rivers just broke down your case. He know all the charges that you about to face. You ain't coming home till 2058. That's
Bruce Rivers, he's the criminal lawyer. Bruce Rivers, he's the criminal lawyer. Bruce Rivers, he's the criminal lawyer. And what he do? And it's gonna react to all the self-snitching.
Hi, this is Bruce Rivers. Welcome to another fun-filled episode of Criminal Lawyer Reacts. I'm Bruce Rivers, coming to you with my pearl handle pistol cufflinks, gifted to me by my content genius, Michael Rivers, from Bergdorf and Goodman. Today we're reacting to a little bit of Donald Trump. Now, I know people think, oh, God, he hates Trump, or blah, blah, blah. Here's the thing. He's got so much shit going on, and it's just fascinating. It's absolutely fascinating. From a legal standpoint, because he's got so much going on, and we're gonna have to break a lot of this stuff down. But before we do, where is this brought to you by? This episode, like many of our episodes, is brought to you by eforms.com. What did I say? I said eforms.com. Eforms.com is a repository for forms, legal forms, where you can go and you don't have to reinvent the wheel. You don't hire somebody like me to, for a will, for power of attorney, rental agreement, loan agreement, any kind of legal form that you might need. Go to eforms.com and they will take good care of you. Look at the link below. All right, with that said, let's talk about Donald Trump. So much shit is going on. First of all, earlier this week, or last week, he had probably the worst day possible. The Attorney General for the state of New York has sued him. And she has sued him, and I think it's like a 200-page complaint, a very detailed, very lengthy investigation. And the crux of it is this. She's suing, the state of New York is suing Donald Trump and the Trump Organization and his children for $250 million, which I think is going to be a drop in the bucket compared to what he probably owes. So back, I think in like 1995 or thereabouts, Donald Trump took $900 million deduction. And he carried that forward all these years so that he's not paying any taxes. But in addition to that, with the fraud that they're talking about, just in this New York case alone, is they're saying that to the government, he said one thing in terms of his asset value, and to the banks, he said they were another. Now, why is that an issue? You have to be truthful on both forms. You can't lie to the bank, because you have an affidavit. You fill out a bank application for a loan, and if you lie on it, it is fraud. It's mortgage fraud, basically. Then you have the value that you assign it to for the government for tax purposes, and you want that to be as low as possible. So let's just take his property down in Mar-a-Lago, for example. Mar-a-Lago is said to be worth about $75 million, okay? He had it listed at $750 million so he could get loans on the property. Now, the one thing you know about Donald Trump is he's not a super liquid guy. His most of his money is loans and now it's donations from his base. You remember when he first came out, he said, "I don't need anybody's money. I'm not using anybody." But he's got this PAC. He's got this PAC that people are donating hundreds of millions of dollars to, and the RNC is paying his fees, all of his legal fees up till now. So you've got and so this Letitia James, the Attorney General of New York, has sued Donald Trump in this massive fraud, and one of the other things she wants to prevent him from doing is any business in New York for like 5 years, and Trump's organization has reached out to try to settle it, and she has declined any kind of settlement talks. But it's still super early. But they allege this massive fraud, and so that happened. And on the same day that happened, now you know that the FBI raided Mar-a-Lago, and so when they didn't raid Mar-a-Lago, they executed a search warrant. And when you execute a search warrant, you have to have probable cause, and you create an affidavit and you give that to the judge. And we've talked about that a little bit on this channel. And so when so a judge signs off on it, and whether that judge had a conflict of interest or whether he's you listen to some of the crap that Trump has been saying about that judge. So that's what he does. When somebody doesn't like what somebody does, he attacks the person instead of attacking. You notice in the interview with Sean Hannity, he doesn't attack the substance of the affidavit at all.
Will you release those tapes publicly?
Well, they've asked me not to do it because they feel the FBI agents might be in physical harm, in danger, because there is a fervor in this country. This country is so tired of this stuff.
And he's got part of it, so he knows what it's about. But he'll talk about the people and how they're biased against him, they hate him and all that. But he never talks about the substance. One of the things that he's done in that case, where he was holding on to defense records that were classified. He said that he has the ability to just, in his head, if I just think about it, it's so stupid. If I just think about declassifying it, it's declassified. Well, that's not how it works. And I don't really know how it works because I'm not that guy in D.C. doing that kind of work. But I do know that you can't just think something true and then it be true. And here's the other thing. What the fuck is he doing? What is he doing? He is self-motherfucking snitching. When he sits there and he goes on TV and has to talk, he thinks he's so powerful in his words, right? Well, one of the things that they filed and here's the other thing. Okay, let's just slow down because I'm getting kind of excited here. So Donald Trump had filed, after the search of his place, there was a concern about them getting privileged documents. And one of the things that the DOJ does when you execute the search warrant of a particular place, if I allege that there's some attorney-client privileged documents in the stuff, they create what's called a taint team. So that means they have a separate walled-off team that searches the records for privilege. Well, instead of doing that in this case, Trump filed a lawsuit against the government, and he did it in the northernmost part of Palm Beach, which is a Trump-appointed judge, and she is the only judge sitting in that courthouse. Okay, and she's the one that appointed a special master. And then she said in that filing that okay, I'm going to appoint a special master, and the government is restrained from their investigation until the special master does what he's going to do. Well, the special master has told Trump's team, okay, what's privileged and what's not? What is classified? Tell me all the documents that you declassified. And they said, well, we can't really do that right now. So it's like you can't have your cake and eat it too. You can't have this special master kind of control everything and not be subservient to the special master that you just fucking asked for. It's ridiculous. So the government then, because the judge had issued that order restraining the government from continuing their investigation, they filed an appeal to the 11th Circuit. And the 11th Circuit 3-judge panel blasted this the lower court judge and said, no, you're not right at all, and they allowed the government to now continue their investigation and use the documents. And so the special master has also now said to Trump, okay, you claim publicly that the FBI is planting documents. Put up or shut up. That's what the special master said. So they have till sometime this next week, to put something in front of the court. Now, here's the problem with that. Trump's mouth is creating problems for his lawyers. We fucking hate this as lawyers. You know, he is such a public person, he cannot not be on TV, right? He has to be on TV. He has to be out there. His name has got to be in the public eye. He's got this insatiable appetite for shooting his mouth off and having people publish it. He says he hates the media, but he loves being in front of the camera, right? Okay, that being the case. As lawyers, we hate it when our clients put us in bad positions. His lawyers, first of all, on this latest deal demanded to be paid up front. Like $3 million or something like that. I guarantee you that's not coming out of his pocket. That's coming out of the RNC. And the minute he declares his presidency or his candidacy for president, they're going to stop paying his legal bills. That's my understanding. But so if he's making these statements publicly and he's bad-mouthing the FBI and he's bad-mouthing the judge and all this other stuff, the judge in this case says, okay, you're saying publicly that the FBI planted some documents. You have till Thursday to show us exactly how, when, and where. This judge that they've got from the I think he's from New York to be the special master he's a former FISA court judge, so he knows all about classifications. He knows all about everything when it comes to government documents. He also is a no-nonsense judge, and he's not going to put up with any of his bullshit. And he had until November 30th to complete his work. My guess is that his work is going to be done within a week to 2 weeks. You watch. Once that Trump's team can't put up, and they won't put up anything that's false. If you try to do that, you're going to lose your law license. Look what happened to Rudy Giuliani. He lost his law license. Sidney Powell, she's in deep shit. Any of these other people that were spewing these lies all across the country. And here's the thing. You got to back up your bullshit. If you are a lawyer in court, you cannot lie. And so if the government really did plant some stuff, then fucking go after it. Go after it. And that's a good reason to invalidate this whole process. But FBI agents, number one, are tenacious motherfuckers. They're strong, intelligent, motivated as hell, and they're not going to, especially with a former president of the United States, you don't think they're going to dot their I's and cross their T's? Not going to happen. So you've got those two hot irons in the fire, and and the AG in New York has referred what she believes to be criminal activity to DOJ in the Southern District of New York. Whether they take it or not is another story. But then you've got Georgia, and that's a whole nother kettle of fish. The interfering with the election down there, and that is one active prosecutor in Fulton County. She's got all kinds of stuff. We've talked a little bit about YSL and some of the other things that are going on down there. She just indicted a whole shit pot of gangsters down there on RICO, and then I would not be surprised if she does some kind of RICO thing with Trump. Maybe not, but she certainly is. I bet you she gets indicted. He gets indicted down in New York or in Georgia for interfering with the election. So this is just our little take on the last week. This is just, I could talk about this forever, but the amount of legal crap he's got going, plus he's got 20 to 30, maybe about 20 civil lawsuits that he's juggling. He's got so much legal stuff. His legal bills are just through the roof. I wouldn't want to be his lawyer, and I'll tell you why. I love representing difficult cases, but I like good clients who listen to you and don't make things harder. Every word out of his mouth makes it harder for the lawyers, and it just is absolutely insane. So this has been our take on Donald Trump and all the crap that he's dealing with. I mean, think about all the stuff that he's dealing with. It's got to be stressful. You've got all these different things that you're dealing with in multiple jurisdictions. It's a lot to take in. It's a lot to handle. So this is, and it's fascinating from a legal standpoint. So I'm Bruce Rivers, Criminal Lawyer Reacts. So make sure you subscribe, like, and if you don't like it, just make a comment. Let me see what you have to say. Follow us on Instagram. Follow us on Twitter. Stop yourself snitching. And follow us on Patreon. And we'll see you next time here on Criminal Lawyer Reacts.
Bruce Rivers just broke down your case. He know all the charges that you about to face. You ain't coming home till 2058. That self-snitching gon' get you put away. Bruce Rivers just broke down your case. He know all the charges that you about to face. You ain't coming home till 2058. That self-snitching gon' get you put away. 23-hour lockdown, please just let my God.